Laurent Fignon attacked yesterday and put himself into a great position to win this race. The men he fears, Greg LeMond and Pedro Delgado, had no answers. But this tour isn't over yet, and they might have one or two today. Greg LeMond is certainly talking in terms of taking his challenge all the way to Paris.
Greg, Fignon has again surprised everybody with that breakaway. Is it now too much for you to bridge before the finish of this tour in Paris?
It's going to be much more difficult than this morning. I think it's another 20 seconds that he put on. I don't know. He has 50 seconds now. It's going to be very difficult, but you never know. In the last time trial, he could have a mechanical problem, a flat. Anything can happen in a time trial, and he could have a bad day that day also, and I can have a good day. So the race isn't over until we've both crossed the line in Paris, and I'm not giving up. Although I'm not feeling as great as I had hoped on the climbs, but all in all, I think there's only 2 or 3 riders stronger than me in the climbs, and I feel like I've raced as well as anybody in the time trials and in the flats. So I'm satisfied with the slight disappointment.
One more chance, possibly, Greg, just to snick a few seconds back on the stage that's over the last few hills today.
If I feel good, yes. If I don't feel good, then I'll be hoping to keep my position. But hopefully, every day changes, your condition changes, and I could feel good tomorrow. And if the opportunity's there, I'll take it.
And one thing you can be sure of, Greg LeMond will continue to battle all the way to the Champs-Élysées in this year's Tour de France. He certainly won't have given up all hope yet. But yesterday, on the climb of the Col de Saint-Nizier, it did appear that Pedro Delgado had given up all hope of winning this year's Tour de France when he appeared to stop on the climb with Fignon in full cry. Greg LeMond himself could not go forward and take up the pace. We're sitting here now at the top of the last first category climb of this year's Tour de France, the Col de Port. It's a very hard climb indeed, and in fact there are 3 tough climbs again today. But it's not so much the climbs on today's stage, but the descents where the race could be decided. The descent of the Col de Granier is very, very dangerous indeed. It's very steep and it's very long. And Laurent Fignon has shown us all along he has the skill and the nerve to go downhill very quickly. He might even try again to make that bridge between LeMond and himself even a bit wider. LeMond will have to follow. Delgado isn't so sure on the descent. He may want to attack earlier. One thing's for sure, Richard, this race still won't lie down.
And that's what's made this such an entertaining couple of weeks or so. It'll go right to the line. The overall classification, it's Fignon from LeMond. The gap, 50 seconds. Third, it's Delgado, 2:28 back. And those are the only 3 riders now chasing victory. 4, 5 and 6, it's Ternissa, Motte and Rooks. And the stage today, 19, the last in the mountains. There are 3 climbs, but as Phil was saying, it's the descents that might prove the more significant. Phil, get us up to date.
And so the first big climb of the day for the riders, the Col de Port, and it was Pedro Delgado, Laurent Fignon, Laduretta, Ternissa and LeMond who had broken clear on the bottom of the climb. That was their order over the top. They led a group of 5 chasers by 1 minute and 35 seconds, and Charlie Motte, in all sorts of trouble again, was over 2 minutes behind. Robert Miller, by the way, went over the top in 11th place. But now we join the riders just about a kilometre from the summit of the Col du Coucheron, and the same 5 men now seem to have decided the Tour de France is strictly between them. Laurent Fignon, who's working very hard again to break them up today. Delgado here in 2nd place. Greg LeMond sitting at the back trying to guard his 2nd place overall. And the other 2 riders, Gert Ternissa just in front of LeMond here. And the man in the middle is Laduretta. Clearly, Ternissa trying now to challenge the top 3, but he'll have to get rid of them first. And Stephen Rooks, by the way, will be anxious to join them. He's in a group behind with Raul Alcala, Sean Kelly, Rondon and Palacio, the 2 teammates of Delgado. But they are going very well clear of Motte, and it could be today that we'll have Rooks up there as well. He's already 5th, of course, but he's climbing further and further away from his challengers. Well, again, they're leaving Fignon to do all of the work here, Paul, because every time somebody goes past Fignon, he attacks.
Well, he really isn't bothered at all, Laurent Fignon, today. He seems to have sprouted wings, because every time that the pace slows down, he attacks.
So Fignon has slowed the pace down now because nobody will go past him. Laduretta to the right of our picture, Delgado to Fignon's left. and Greg LeMond guarding his second place overall at the moment. It is a very difficult day, but the great dangers today do lie on the descents. There's the kilometre board for the Kelly group here on the climb of the Coucheron, and Kelly is again riding in the Alps like 10 men. He's had a marvellous crossing of the Alps this year. We're going back now as we come nearer the summit of the Coucheron, as Ternisse is setting the pace. Ternisse won the smaller climb that started the day, the Côte de l'Aiguille, ahead of Steve Bauer and John Carlson. Those riders have dropped back. Miller was fourth there, by the way, and Fignon was fifth. Ladurette's going for the summit now. Ternisse is not resisting it. He is the king of the mountains in this year's Tour de France. Saying that, he's taken the wheel. He's gone after Ladurette. So too has Delgado. Late reaction from Fignon, and LeMond jumps onto Fignon's back wheel. A little bit of dicing for the top of the Coucheron. Then Ternisse has gone past Ladurette. And then there will be a descent, and not a long one, before they go on to the Col de Port, the final climb of this year's Tour. And what a strong and powerful king of the mountains Ternisse is. The winner on Alpe d'Huez. He's now coming up towards the top of the Coucheron. There's the banner just up ahead. I wouldn't be surprised to see Fignon dive from fourth position. It's a good place to attack. He's warming up with the rest of them, not giving any of them an inch. Delgado goes. Fignon won't give Delgado any room at all. So it looks like it is Fignon, Ternisse, Fignon, Delgado, Ladurette, and Greg LeMond over the top. As they begin now the long descent down. It's a descent of approximately 6 miles down the valley before they will then begin the climb of the Col de Granier with its 4 or 5 kilometres of extremely dangerous descending down towards Chambéry, which is only a handful of kilometres from the finish today. There's Raul Alcala. He's in the group of 5 that's been trying to get up to those 5 men at the front, but without success. It looks as though the group has splintered here. Alcala going backwards because we've got Sean Kelly setting the rhythm, and with him Stephen Rooks in that multicolour performance jersey, but the organisation made a mistake yesterday when they presented it to Stephen Rooks. In fact, it should have gone to Laurent Fignon, but it's now safely on the shoulders of Rooks because he's done well today. Kelly leading him out in the catch sprints to gain valuable points there, and Rooks' progress in that competition has made him the clear leader in the performance jersey by the end of this day. So as we see the riders now sweeping away off the Col du Coucheron, the next big climb and the last one will be the Col de Granier. Will Laurent Fignon put in an attack there that will end this year's Tour de France for sure? Join us after.
Players had made their move. They were out in front. We go back now as they are on the final climb of the Tour de France, and there's a really nasty descent to come. Phil.
And look at this, Greg LeMond's attack has become about 1.25 kilometres from the summit, and Fignon is reacting, and the order behind LeMond, the Fignon, Delgado, Ternisse and Ladurette. Greg LeMond is trying, but Fignon has spotted this, and slowly but surely he's bringing back Greg, and it looks like he's caught him with a kilometre to go to the summit. And we can go further down the mountain now as those 5 come back together, because this is Robert Miller, and with him number 71 Alvaro Pino, 2 riders here who duelled in the Tour of Spain a couple of years ago when Pino was the winner and Robert Miller was second. So there is one of the referees there making a note which he doesn't look too happy about. There might be a problem. But as we look back now to the group containing Sean Kelly, as they make the tempo behind Miller and Alvaro Pino, this is the order then up the Col de Granier. It's been a long, tough climb. The 5 leaders have kept the tempo some 2 minutes ahead of the Kelly group. Robert Miller attacked on the lower slopes. Pino followed him. But look at this. We've gone back to the leaders, and Greg LeMond is getting all the cheers because he's trying to go again. He looks over his shoulder. Greg LeMond is making his final effort here, and Fignon is coming back. Well, we missed the attack. Our cameras were down with Sean Kelly, but no doubt that LeMond has tried twice now to break Laurent Fignon. Fignon has reacted, Paul, and Ternisse too.
But Ternisse is sitting there again as he was the day before. He looks so comfortable, this rider. He's always responded to all the attacks, but Greg has said what he said he would do. He hasn't given up until he gets to Paris. Coming back on into the frame now is Delgado and Ladurette, but look at the crowd here, Phil. It's incredible because there's only 2 days to go after this in the Tour de France, and LeMond still hasn't given up. I think he'll still try towards the finish and snatch back 10 or 15 seconds, because what a finale that would be in Paris.
Well, the steepest side of the Col de Granier, the way the race is going this year, is the downhill side. And as I say, it's a very dangerous descent. And these 5 riders are giving just about every ounce of energy they possess. They will not allow this Tour to be decided by anybody not answering an attack. Delgado goes this time. And it's Delgado who goes under the banner first, over the final climb of this year's Tour de France. And then Fignon. Lagiuretta is the rider at the back. We now begin the long descent down to the valley in Chambéry, where the World Championships will be held at the end of August. This is the size of the bunch which has come together, actually, after the descent of the Coucheron and on the lower slopes of the Col du Granier. Pascal Richard, with the white crosses, the champion of Switzerland, was on the back with more attacks here on the descent. Now, this is the descent, Paul. Surely somebody will try to go here.
Well, this is what's happened. In fact, Greg LeMond has taken his life in his hands. He's attacked on the descent, and straight away, Laurent Fignon is right onto him. And you can see the gaps opening up straight away as we go around this corner. The weather is so hot here that the tyre is melting again. It's very dangerous in these corners. We go back onto the climb, and Robert Miller and Pinot haven't gone over the top of the climb yet, but it looked back there on the descent as if Fignon and LeMond were opening the gap on the other riders. Looks as if it's all coming back together on the descent, because that's Lagiuretta who's just rejoined. And I think the next rider about to get onto the back there will be Gert-Jan Tönnissen, and there is Delgado, and it's all back together. But this isn't just yet the most dangerous part of the descent. We've got another 2 kilometres to go, and I think Greg will still try. He'll still try then, because this is where he could possibly move away from Fignon. Fignon's got a lot more to lose than Greg, and Greg's got nothing left to lose now. We're coming back to the main peloton here, or what's left of it. There on the back is Lucho Herrera, and I think the speed that riders like Sean Kelly are going to go down here. They'll snap up Robert Miller before they get down to the bottom in the town of Chambéry.
Well, you get some feeling there of what it's like to descend in the Tour de France. These men of steel who just about control themselves so well over every type of terrain and every type of weather condition. But you can see what happens if you do overshoot. It's a long way down through the trees. And the great fear they all have, of course, is that nobody will see them go. And you may have the situation like they had back in the early 60s when Roger Riviere, the great French champion, did in fact sail off into space and nobody saw him go. They had to find him. And when they found him, he was a long way down and he never raced again. This is the long line of chasers, as we're trying desperately to catch up with them here, because we're going down at something like 50 miles an hour. The crowd enjoying the spectacle of the Tour de France, as they have waited here for hours, like they do on every stage of the Tour. Oh, and look at this. Everybody straight on. Everybody went straight on. No, I've never seen that before, but nobody got round. Fignon as well. And this was a dangerous bend. We noted on the way in, and that's amazing.
The first man to go down there, Phil, was Gert-Jan Tönnissen, and this was in fact, the part of the road that I told you before is in the World Championships. It's very, very dangerous, but it's amazing to see that all the riders were stopped by that descent. I'm very surprised that they've allowed such a course to be permitted to the World Championships. There, Pedro Delgado got away very quickly, didn't try to profit from the situation and waited for those to come back, but that was quite incredible.
I have never seen that in cycling before, when the whole leading group just never even appeared to attempt to get round the corner. They went straight into the straw bales, and it'll be interesting to see how the rest get round there too. Immediately, Cyril Guimard up alongside his man in yellow, no doubt asking the question, are you all right? And he'll probably say yes, but forget me for the World Championships, because this is a crazy circuit.
Well, there's Gert-Jan Tönnissen. He was the first man to come off in that crash there, and it really is a sad thing for him, because he seems to have so much bad luck in this Tour de France. He started with broken ribs, and let's hope that he hasn't hurt himself too much there.
Well, they've got back together. Honour amongst the men who have raced each other into the ground this last 3 weeks. They never took advantage of the fact they'd all faltered. They waited to regroup. And it's very often the case, Paul, it's true to say that they'll fight each other on equal terms, but they very often never take advantage of bad luck, do they?
Well, it's an unwritten law, it's a code of gentlemen, really, that you don't take advantage of an adversary's crash, especially in a situation like this, because it could have happened to any one of them. And it was nice to see one rider, I think, was not impeded by that crash, and he actually waited for the rest to come back to him.
And this is Yvon Madio here, who's crashed. He's gone off on one of the corners coming down the Col de Granier. Well, that's sad for the former champion of France, but we did say this descent was dangerous, and it looks as though Madio is one of the victims today. But to pick a winner from this today, Paul, it wouldn't be easy, would it?
Well, definitely not at all. I mean, the way Laurent Fignon is riding at the moment, Fignon can almost do anything. He feels, I think, probably invincible. Gert-Jan Tunney's, the Dutchman, is an intelligent rider. He could surprise them all in the finish with an attack with 400 or 500 metres to go. The fastest man here is obviously, though, Greg LeMond, who finished second in one of the early stages of the Criterium International earlier in the year. We go back with Yvon Madio here, who's still trying to regain the peloton he was with when he crashed.
And Fignon's saying, come on, Greg, come and do your turn in the line. And Greg says, no thanks, I'm happy here watching you. So LeMond refuses to go through. He takes the wheel of Fignon. It does appear that Fignon now is at least 30% stronger than Greg LeMond. Laggiaretta goes through. He's the rider, number 111, who has most to gain from this breakaway. He could still steal Charlie Motte's 5th place overall. So he'll be more interested in keeping the pace high. Back in the pack, which seems to be as big as ever. The rider sitting at the back here is Alberto Camargo. Well, I'm sure that water looks inviting today, Paul, because it's so humid. I think they'd like to jump in it.
I think if the finish was any closer to this lake, I think the riders would turn left straight after the finish line and plunge in. But there's 2 days to go, and they can't risk going for a swim just yet.
In the old days, you always saw the riders drop off and actually plunge their feet into the water, because it's actually their shoes make their feet so hot, don't they?
Even more nowadays with the advent of plastic shoes and these pedals. A lot of riders get problems underneath the feet, but they do tend now to have a special kind of insulating layer underneath the sole of the foot, which stops this burning of the foot. We go back to the bunch there. You see Stephen Rooks on the front with Charlie Motte. The gap's still 2 minutes 20. It's not coming down very rapidly at all. It looks like Bruno Cornier coming through in front of Sean Kelly with one of Delgado's teammates. It looks like Dominique Arnaud, actually, who's done an incredible ride today for his team leader.
If Greg will attack, it'll be just as they start to come back when he's done his turn and Fignon is at the head, because the only chance that Greg has of surprise is at that very moment, and Fignon will probably be tense and waiting for it. You see him looking to see where Greg is, making sure he knows where he is, and Greg is saying, well, look, you get up there and do some work. I'm happy at the back at the moment, but Fignon insists on keeping him right where he can see him, and Fignon is being obliged to accelerate back to the group. I'd like to know what Greg said there.
That was a nice game of poker by Greg there. He forced Fignon to go in front of him, and it's a very cool move. Greg is very cool. As they take this left-hand turn, Laurent Fignon's in an ideal place to keep an eye on everybody else, but Greg is right behind him. But I think he'll have an ear turn backwards and one eye turn forwards to keep his eye on those in front and Greg behind.
So we're swinging round towards the finish now. Delgado takes the wheel of Greg LeMond. Turnisse comes to the back as well. They're all going to start getting twitchy now, and Greg may have left it too late here. Maybe genuinely he's too tired, and he may well have told Fignon just that. Because this is the turn now towards the finish. LeMond is just behind Fignon, third in line. And our little bit of picture breakup is due to the trees on the left here interfering with our signals, but we'll stay with this most intriguing rundown to the finish when we can see the riders, that is. They're right under our tree line at the moment. 1 kilometre to go. There it is, just passing through our picture. And we'll have to go with the pictures, I'm afraid, otherwise we won't see the riders with the trees on the boulevard here. But the rider setting the pace all the way to the line, hoping he can make enough to take 5th place. That's Laggiaretta, and he should be safe now. It's going to be a most interesting sprint, this. And Fignon, you know, can produce a great sprint when he wants to. He's won stages before. LeMond will also want to try and take him on. And I don't think Turnisse is a great sprinter. He would have preferred to have finished this stage alone. It could well be day number 2, you know, for Laurent Fignon, this, Paul.
Well, it could be, but Greg's placed in an ideal position there, right in the wheel of Fignon. This is why he's fought for the position of Fignon's wheel, because Fignon will then, with 400-500 metres to go, probably take the advantage and start leading out. And they've even stopped the cameraman, so we'll have to go out to the fixed position, and Greg's gone for it.
So Greg LeMond goes and Fignon takes up. So Greg LeMond of the United States looks like he might at least get the stage. Fignon comes after LeMond, but he's having a job to get on terms. And on the far right, his turn is that Greg LeMond's going to win this. Greg LeMond has got the stage win. Fignon is second. A straight line. Fignon, Delgado, Turnisse, Laggiaretta. That was the order over the line. Greg LeMond has fought back in with a stage win. But, of course, the 50 seconds will remain intact for the weekend for Laurent Fignon. Le Monde will be happy with the road win, though, and Laurent Fignon will be happy to have finished second and kept his lead overall. And this is the field coming in. Charlie Motte has just been swept away off the front. He's still trying to keep the gap down to a minimum as they come up towards the finish. Raul Alcala leading out his teammate Sean Kelly. If Kelly can get sixth, he scored yet more points in that competition. It's the PDM boys here, the first three places. Alcala, Kelly and Stephen Rooks. And it looks like it's Fuerte trying to intrude in fourth place, but Kelly's waiting till the last minute. Bunyo is also on the far left of our picture as Kelly comes for it now. Rooks in the middle. Sean Kelly looks across at Bunyo. They're now going for the line. It looks as though, in fact, Kelly concedes there. Kelly concedes as Bunyo takes it. Bow wasn't far away. Sean Kelly was probably 7th or 8th. 2 minutes, 10 seconds the gap, so La Giuretta will get his 5th place overall tonight.
So a stage win for Le Monde, but not the satisfaction that Fignon had yesterday when he took more time out of the American. Delgado followed them in. Turnissa was 4th. La Giuretta 5th. Gianni Bunyo led the bunch over, and Sean Kelly followed him in. Le Monde tried his luck once or twice today, didn't he? But he couldn't shake Fignon off.
Well, Greg, today was another day in the mountains. You tried to attack Laurent Fignon, he tried to attack you.
I tried attacking on the last climb, but a little close to the top, and I felt good. But on the first climb, I was suffering a little. Fignon raced a very good race, and he was strong, very strong.
When we came to 2-3 kilometers to the finish, you wanted to take Fignon's wheel.
Yeah, I wanted to win today. That was a big deal for me. I knew if I took Fignon's wheel, I would win. If he was on my wheel, then it would have been iffy.
Well, when you passed the line, Laurent Fignon came up to you and tapped you on the shoulder. What did he say?
She said congratulations, and I said thanks, and he raced a great race. And
do you think that now the tour's nearly over, Fignon has too much of an advantage when we get to Paris?
No. 50 seconds is a very good advantage, but I tell you, he's going to have some sleepless nights because I'm going to give it my all, and anything's possible. If he has a bad day and I have a good day, it's possible to take a minute out of him.
So it's fight all the way.
Not, maybe it's going to be a difference of 10, 20 seconds, but it'll be a very close Tour de France. He won't win. He won't beat me by 50 seconds.
But that's the lead that Fignon has at the moment. The 50 seconds still intact. Delgado stays 2:28 back. Then it's Turnissa. La Giuretta's gone back 5th again. Motti's 6th. Miller 9th. And Sean Kelly 10th. Join us tomorrow at the same time for our penultimate programme. You know, we keep telling you there's a lot of time between the two best riders in the world at the moment. 50 seconds. There certainly wasn't today.